here's the question. Why did Jesus Christ have to be God? That's an essential thing of Christianity. It's what makes Christianity different than every world religion. This is why it's essential. Every single one of us have violated God's law. God says that all liars will have their place in a lake of fire, which burns with brimstone, which is called the second death. There's only one of two ways to pay an eternal fine. We can pay it for all of eternity, or an eternal God can pay it once in time and have it count for all eternity. Why? Because He's an eternal being. It's because He's eternal that that consequence that He paid counts for eternity. Otherwise, me personally, I don't even know how many lies I've told, so for me to pay for my first one, I'll never finish paying the first one to pay the second one. That's one of the reasons why I can't pay it for someone else. Maybe one of you would be a perfect person and never violate God's law. And you'd say, well, hey, I'm perfect. But you would only be able to pay for one other person's penalty in time because we're not an eternal being. God, being an eternal being, can pay an eternal fine that would count for all of time. That's why Jesus Christ had to be God. But He couldn't be just God. He also had to be like you and I. He had to be a man. We can't go to a judge in a human court and say, Your Honor, I know I got 6 months in prison. My poodle will do my jail time. The judge is going to go, it doesn't work that way. But one of us can pay a fine for someone else. But we have to be human. Jesus Christ was God Almighty, became a man for one purpose. He did that so that He could die in our place. Being God, He could pay an eternal fine. Being a man, He could pay for you and I. That is why we can have salvation. That's what makes Christianity different than any world religion. Because every other world religion is based on works that we would do. But our works will work against us. God will actually judge us by a book, and the name of that book is the Book of Works. There's two books that God has in heaven. The Book of the Lamb's Book of Life, and the Book of Works. Our name is in one of those two books. Either we have been forgiven by God because He's made the payment of sin for us, and our name is in the Lamb's Book of Life, or our name is in the Book of Works, and it's those very works that we're going to be judged by. We often think our works are going to count for good, but here's a way of thinking of it. If you had a father who takes his son fishing, and his father says to him, hey, I don't want you to go to the lower part of the jetty because it's dangerous down there, but the son, being a typical son, doesn't believe dad. He says, you know what, I really want to get some fish for dinner. I want to be able to provide for my family. I'm going to go to the lower part of the jetty. When he gets down there, an alligator whips its tail up, knocks the kid in the water. The kid doesn't know how to swim all that well. Dad dives in the water. He grabs the son. He starts swimming up to shore, and all of a sudden, the alligator rips both the father's legs off. But with all of the father's energy, with everything he has left, as he's sitting there bleeding, he drags his son to shore. And his son says, hey, thanks, Dad, but I really want to make sure I have some fish for dinner. I'm going to go back to the jetty. That would be disrespectful. Why? Because the father just gave his life to save the son. And the son saying, but look at the works I'm doing. That's what we're like when we stand before God and say, but God, look at my works. I know you're God Almighty. And it took your death to pay the punishment for us. But in doing that, we sit there and say we want to add our works to it. We diminish what He has done. That's why Jesus Christ had to be both God and man.